On September 20th of 1988 in Belen, New Mexico, 19-year-old Tara Calico will walk out of her residence to go on her daily bike ride. Her mother Patty would commonly go on these rides along with her, but recently she had decided to skip them. Their normal bike ride route was along the New Mexico State Road 47. Tara turned on her walkman and started her 2-hour, 34-mile ride on her neon pink Huffy bike. Tara jokingly told her mother to come get her around noon if she didn't show up and if she ended up with a flat tire. Tara had plans with her boyfriend to play tennis at 12:30 p.m., but when she never showed up, he knew something was gravely wrong. This is the bizarre disappearance of Tara Calico. At the time of her disappearance, Tara was a second-year student at the University of New Mexico. Patty had accepted the fact that her daughter was no longer a little girl. Tara was growing into a young woman and beginning to fully live her own life. The bike rides that they would go on together is something that they truly enjoyed. Seeing her daughter right ahead of her with her hair flowing under her Walkman headphones were moments she would cherish forever. However, in the summer of 1988 is when things were becoming uncomfortable. Harassing words from passing motorists would ultimately make Patty stop wanting to ride altogether. At certain times, she felt like her and Tara were being watched and followed. Tara believed her mother was being over-paranoid of the whole situation, but understood why she decided not to go on the rides anymore. Tara, on the other hand, continued her daily rides down Route 47. Patty insisted she take along pepper spray on her rides, but she never did. The morning of September 20th of 1988 was no different than any other day. Tara wrote down her schedule like she always would: bike ride at 9:30, tennis date at 12:30, class at 4 p.m. She got ready, grabbed her Walkman, and headed to the garage. Her bike had a flat tire, so she took her mother's bike instead. As she was leaving, she told her mother, "If I'm not back by noon, come looking for me." She pressed play on her Walkman and drove off. These were the last words Patty would ever hear from Tara. 12:05 came, and Patty knew something was wrong. She got in her car and headed along the bike route that they traveled many times together. As she kept driving, she figured she would find Tara on the side of the road, stranded with a flat tire, but as she got towards the end of the bike route, Tara was nowhere to be found. She got a hold of Tara's boyfriend to see if she showed up at the tennis courts, but she was never there. At that moment, they called the police and reported her missing. Police arrived at Tara's house to see exactly what was going on. The fact that she was an adult didn't give them much urgency on the whole situation. They searched her room and noticed all her belongings were still there, including her school textbooks. Class was at 4 p.m., so they waited to see if she would come back for her school supplies before class. As 4 p.m. came and went, they started to believe that Tara could be in serious danger, and the search for Tara began. On the morning of September 21st, they began an extensive search along the bike route. During the search, Patty found her cassette tape that was very damaged. A few miles north of this location, her Walkman was found broken into pieces. In the dirt at this location was a set of bike tracks and a set of tire tracks leading towards the road. Tara was more than likely abducted. Police believed there was a struggle, and that's how her belongings ended up on the ground. Patty believes that Tara purposely disposed of these items to give a clue of what exactly happened to her. Family and friends and classmates were interviewed, but they came to the conclusion that Tara's life was going really well, so there would be no reason for her to want to run away. They also learned that she got along really well with everyone in her life, so foul play by anyone she knew seemed very unlikely. The investigators' next move was to interview those passing along New Mexico State Road 47. They set up a traffic stop so they could ask drivers if they saw Tara riding her bike that morning. They were able to learn that several witnesses noticed a white or gray 1953 Ford pickup that looked like it was following Tara on her bike ride. Police released a description of the vehicle, but this did not get them any new leads. Over the next few months, despite every effort that law enforcement put out, they were unable to make any progress in this case. Tara had simply vanished. On June 15th of 1989, 9 months after her disappearance, a bizarre lead would finally be found. Over 1,000 miles away from New Mexico in Port St. Joe, Florida, a woman pulled into the parking lot of a convenience store that she shopped at regularly. Parked in front of the store was a dirty white Toyota van. This stuck out to her because it was not a vehicle that she noticed, and everyone that shopped here was a local customer. After she finished with her shopping, that van was gone, but a Polaroid picture was left in its place. Curious, she walked over, and this is the picture that she picked up. Emotions overcame her as she knew this wasn't a normal picture. The young girl and boy in the picture were both gagged in the back of a very similar van to the one that just had left. Both of them stared into the camera full of fear. The young girl had a very noticeable scar on her leg. She immediately called the police and told them what she could remember of the man who she believed was the driver of the vehicle. He was described as being in his 30s with a mustache. This eerie photo would soon become national news, and everyone wondered who the young girl and boy were in the picture. A family came forward from New Mexico that believed the young boy was their son, Michael Henley. On April 21st of 1988, Michael was camping with his family near the Zuni Mountains. Suddenly, Michael disappeared from the family's campsite. A month-long search was done before a severe snowstorm stopped them in their tracks, but no evidence of what happened to Michael was ever found. In July of 1989, Patty saw a news report that showed the photo of the two individuals in the back of the van, and her heart dropped. She called investigators claiming that the girl in the photo looked like Tara, and they even had the same scar on their leg. Also, the book next to her was titled Sweet Audrina, which happened to be Tara's favorite book. There was also a series of numbers scribbled on the book that appeared to be a possible phone number. Some of the numbers were not visible, but they were able to come up with 300 possible phone numbers from the scribbling. Every time a new glimmer of hope would come to investigators, they all would lead to dead ends. In June of 1990, the body of Michael Henley was discovered in the Zuni Mountains. From what investigators concluded is that he wandered off from the campsite and got lost, later dying from exposure. This eliminated the possibility that he was the boy in the picture. Later on, two other possible photos of Tara were also found. In 1991, a photo was found at a construction site in Montecito, California. The young woman is seen with tape over her mouth on a blue and white striped background. The individual had a cowlick on her right temple and what appeared to be a lazy eye, which Tara had both of these as well. The third possible photo is of a man and a woman sitting on an Amtrak train. The woman's wrists were bound with gauze and her eyes were covered with gauze as well. It has never been determined if Tara is actually in these pictures. Over the 30 years since Tara's disappearance, different theories and confessions have come forward. In 2008, Sheriff Rene Rivera stated that two informants told him what happened to Tara. They claimed 4 teenage boys were responsible for Tara's death. Allegedly, the boys were inside the pickup truck and were following Tara. At some point, the boys accidentally hit Tara with their vehicle, knocking it off her bicycle and damaging her walkman. The boys got out, realized she was still alive, and killed her in a panic. They placed her body and bicycle into the truck and drove to an unknown location in Valencia County, where they buried Tara's body and disposed of her bike. He also believed the boys' parents participated in a cover-up when they heard of the crime. Rivera said he knew the names of the boys, but without a body, could not arrest them or reveal their identities. In 2013, a deathbed confession by Henry Brown claimed a similar story. He said one of his friends, Lawrence Romero, was a classmate of him and Tara, was hiding her body in his house shortly after her disappearance. Lawrence and his friends abducted Tara that morning. The story goes the same as the other one previously stated. The only major difference is that Sheriff Rene Rivera was helping cover everything up. There has never been any factual evidence to back up these claims by Henry, so both of these will go down as just theories. Over 30 years have passed and we still are no closer to getting any real answers to Tara's disappearance. Either you believe the theory that she was killed and buried by those she knew, or she was a girl in the Polaroid picture that was found over 1,000 miles away. Hopefully one day we will get some real answers in the bizarre disappearance of Tara Calico.